Welcome to Time to Press Pause, a podcast for CEOs by CEOs. I'm your host, Ellen Williams, CEO of the Salient Strategist, and today I'm speaking with Julie Christiansen. Julie, also known as the Anger Lady, is president and CEO of Leverage You and is the author of 15 books, including Anger Solutions, I Don't Feel So Good, The Rise of Rage, Leadership AIM, and the essential soft skills for effective leadership. She has an extensive background in mental health counseling and public speaking that spans almost 30 years and is the proud recipient of Niagara's 40 Under 40 Award, the Toastmasters Communication Leadership Award, the 2023 Women of Heart Award for Innovation in Mental Health, and the 2024 Passion, Purpose, Peace Award, among others. Julie holds a BA in psychology and an MA in counseling psychology and is registered with the College of Psychotherapists of Ontario. Welcome, Julie. I'm so happy to have you here today on Time to Press Pause.
Thank you so much. It's my pleasure to be with you.
I've perusing LinkedIn, found you, and loved everything I read about what you're doing and the career that you've created for yourself. And I'm really interested in hearing your Press Pause story.
It's definitely been a journey, and I've actually had lots of opportunities to press pause. But I guess we can talk about the most recent one. Last year, my plan was to ramp up my business, take it to the next level kind of thing. That's where my mindset was at. I had a plan in place. It was ticking along perfectly. Everything was running on schedule. And in June of last year, I got word that my father had had a massive stroke. So I dropped everything. I had a week's vacation that I had been planning. I went to where my father was and spent a week with him instead through that time in the hospital and the early days of his rehab until I had to come home. After that, I'm not really sure what happened, if it was just the stress of everything that had occurred, both the good and the bad, because we can have good stress and bad stress, right? So there's that energizing stress that keeps us going, but then there's also the consuming stress that wears us down. And I think the combination of the two really impacted me in a way that I wasn't prepared for. And when I came back from being with my dad, it took me a while to realize that I had kind of lost my mojo. I didn't have the energy that it would take to get on the phone and to get on the internet and make sales. And I was fulfilling projects that I had already contracted to do, but I couldn't find the energy to go out and seek more projects. And that continued until, I guess, right around my birthday. So my birthday and my anniversary happened in the same week. I suppose I should qualify that so you understand why we're trying to make all these plans. And about 2 weeks before we were going to solidify our plans, my father had another stroke. And there was no way that I could get to him this time because he was in Jamaica and I couldn't go. I don't know how to drive in Jamaica. They drive British style, right? They drive on the other side of the road. So I'm like, if I go, I won't be able to help him. I won't be able to take him anywhere. I don't understand the culture because I've been away for so long. And so again, just loads and loads of stressors kind of piling up. Then suddenly one morning I woke up and I couldn't see straight. It was just the vertigo was so bad. It was like being out on the ocean with the boat just rocking backwards and forwards. I couldn't find my feet. I had to hold on to the walls. I couldn't go anywhere. I couldn't drive. I actually had my husband drive me to a doctor's appointment that morning. The vertigo was so bad, just even trying to sit up and to lay down off of the table. When I was done with that appointment, I asked my husband to take me to the hospital because I said, I don't know what's going on, but whatever this is, it's bad. Fast forward to the hospital, they did every test known to man. They did blood work, they tested my heart, they tested my kidney function, my liver function, they tested my hemoglobin because I'm anemic. And the doctor came back and she said, you are golden. Everything is fine. Your hemoglobin levels are better than mine are. and your heart is good, your cortisol levels are a little high, but whatever's happening to you is making you anxious, so that seems normal. Everything is fine. And in that moment, everything clicked in, and I went, oh, so this is anxiety. That's what this is. As a psychotherapist, I probably should have caught it earlier. But one thing I know about myself is that I can function at very high levels for a very long period of time with anxiety. I didn't realize how much, I had hit my threshold. I thought, okay, I know what to do. I said to the doctor, I know that you're not diagnosing me with anything, but I'm gonna just take it from here. I came home and immediately went into that press pause mode. I knew what all of the triggers were. I had been dealing with them and functioning, right? So I had been dealing with things for about a year. The loss of a dear friend. I hadn't had time to grieve because I was just like, I'll grieve later. Grieving is for later. I got work to do. Then everything that happened with my dad and all the concerns around my business. And it was just too much. And so I thought, okay, I need to stop now. And every strategy that I know, every strategy that I've ever suggested to my clients when they're facing burnout, now I've got to do the work and I've got to implement them. And honestly, the very first thing that I did when my husband got me home from the hospital was I took my shoes off and I went out in the backyard and I planted my feet in the grass and I stayed out there for about a half an hour. The very first thing I did. I encourage all my clients to do this. Just get grounded. Just get grounded. I put myself into a space where felt free to grieve, and I let the tears come as they needed to come. I had a good cry. I made sure that I was taking all the vitamins. I got out my journal and I started journaling. I did everything that I would normally tell my clients to do. It took 3 days of lying in bed, relaxing, grounding, journaling, eating really healthy food. Then the vertigo went away. And I think it was on my birthday, I was actually able to get up, take the bikes out, my husband and I, and we went for a ride and just took the time to let my body process the burnout, to process the anxiety, and to let it go. The reminder for me was that when you feel the symptoms coming on, don't ignore them and say, well, yeah, sure, I'm stressed out, but if I get a good night's sleep, I'll be fine I'll be fine tomorrow. Sometimes a good night's sleep is enough. Sometimes you need more than that. So it behooves us to pay attention to what our bodies are telling us. Anxiety, anger, grief, stress, this is energy. And if you continue to repress that energy, it will find its way to express itself. I have to say that it's not my first time. That wasn't my first rodeo with burnout. I remember many years ago, my boys were in grade 5, and I was on my way down to the basement, and I honestly cannot tell you what I was planning to do down there, but I ended up face down on the carpet in my basement, asleep for probably 3 hours. And I just vaguely remember my husband saying to the boys as they stepped over me, like I literally just wiped out right in the path. And I just vaguely remember my husband saying, don't bother your mom. Just don't disturb your mom. She's tired. And I'm like, I woke up face first in the carpet, just wrecked. And that has happened many times over my career where I would say, oh, I'm feeling really tired. I'm just going to lay down for a minute. And I would lay down on the couch and I would wake up to hear my husband cooking and I would fall asleep again and wake up later and it would be dark and I'd crawl into bed and sleep all night because my body just said enough. And I was too highly motivated to realize that there had been signs leading up to that burnout and I wasn't paying attention to them. So this time I was like, I'm not ending up face first in the floor or the sofa. I'm going to catch this. Now that I understand what's happening to me, I can take some action on that. I've still got a lot of life left to live. And I don't want to spend a big percentage of that with my face in the carpet.
I
Right.
would hope not. Yes. It's a great reminder. Don't have your face in the carpet.
Yes. We don't want to get there.
Right. Thank you for sharing that story. And unfortunately, it's so common. Not exactly the same story, but that burnout story a few times on Press Pause. And certainly it's a good reason to press pause. It's just unfortunate it gets to be so severe. And so many CEOs, go-getters, and founders, they're able to manage anxiety and manage juggling so many things. And you had said, I'll grieve later. I'll do this later. I'll just push it off. And eventually it just all comes tumbling back on. So I'm so happy that you identified what it was and the vertigo went away. When the vertigo went away, did it also bring back your motivation to sort of get back in the saddle with your business?
Of a sort, of a fashion. I certainly didn't stop that pause when the vertigo went away. I took the remainder of that time that my husband and I had booked off, and continued to do the things because I realized that it's not just enough to heal from whatever, has built up. There's also the building of resiliency to make sure that I can continue to move forward. I actually own two businesses. So how am I running my practice? What are the things that I can do differently in my practice? Evaluating all of those things, right down to the types of clients that I want to spend time with. And then with my public speaking business, sitting down with my team. I actually sat down with both of my teams and we had a full day strategy session. And we talked about what do we want to accomplish for the next year? How are we going to do that? What are the things that we'll put in place if we see the plan is not going as we hoped or as we intended? Because there's always the unknown, there's always the unexpected. So how do we put some mitigating factors in place so that we can continue to move forward, but I can continue to maintain my resiliency as we go through that? So that means delegating tasks, offering some training, making sure that the people on my team can take over some of the things that I was doing so that I don't go into that place of feeling overwhelmed. Because one of the things that I'm really good at is when I start to feel overwhelmed, I pull back and I don't ask for help. I've actually said to my personal assistant, part of your job is to put your boot up my butt so that if you don't hear from me for a couple of days, you reach out to me. Don't allow me to get into that headspace where I'll just do it myself. I don't want to bother anybody with this. It's not their problem. Yeah, actually, that's what I'm paying them.
I'm happy to hear that after you took your pause, that you made changes, that you communicated to both your teams, strategized, and changed your approach. You did say it wasn't your first rodeo. I think we've all been there, done that too. And you hope you learn from them. Sometimes it's not until it gets really severe. Although I have to say, face in the carpet sounds a little severe.
That was indeed. That was probably the worst. That was the worst.
I love the resiliency. It's not just, okay, I'm solving the problem, I'm pausing, I'm getting out of burnout. But then there's that next phase. I have to learn how to do things differently.
Mm-hmm. Yes, very much so. And I think for people who are solopreneurs or small business owners like myself, it is hard sometimes to share the load because we're so used to carrying it all by ourselves.
I think also that's not so unique to the solo, although I've been in those shoes and am in those shoes now. I'm hearing a lot of even larger organization CEOs with that same feeling. There's a long-standing expectation that CEOs have all the answers.
Yes.
And so they're not reaching out for help either. Although I agree with everything you said, I think it's not exclusive.
when I was doing a lot more corporate training and had more touch points with these CEOs, you're correct that one of the things I was constantly encouraging them to do is to delegate, but to delegate with intention. You're not just giving them the dirty work or whatever, but you're giving them meaningful work that you know they're going to take ownership of because it plays to their strengths and because they're passionate about it.
I can
So,
imagine that delegating with intention is also helping everyone you're working with to avoid burnout because they're
yes.
not overworked, they're not doing things they don't like to do. And that would create a culture where everyone's healthy, actually, and enjoying their work.
Yes, because one of the things that really contributes to high levels of stress is when you're assigned meaningless tasks. When you have a job to do and you cannot find any reason why this task needs to be done, then it's like, if the task is meaningless, then what value am I bringing to the overall result? And it causes disengagement. And often with that disengagement comes that feeling of, why should I even bother? Why do I even show up here? Because I'm not doing anything that makes a difference. So we want to make sure that our people feel like they're making a difference, but we don't want to overburden them either, right? So it is a delicate balance.
So, Julie, my last question for you. What advice would you give to a CEO where they would identify when it's time to press pause?
I would encourage people to at least quarterly, if not monthly, if not weekly, but at least quarterly, check in. Ask yourself some key questions. I'm trying to think of who originated it. I think it's financial coach Morgana Ray comes to mind. The exercise is called Fun and Money, and I do this at least 4 times a year. What have I done that was fun but didn't make me any money? What did I do that was fun and made me money? What did I do that was not fun but made me money? And what did I do that was not fun and made me no money? So all the things that show up in the no fun, no money category, I get rid of those. I either delegate them or I just stop doing them. The ones that were not fun but made me money, then I have to do a little deeper evaluation. Is this something that is necessary for the running of my business? Like, filing taxes. Okay, it's not fun. It doesn't make me any money, but it's
It's not fun
necessary.
for you, but it's fun for somebody, right?
Exactly. And I have to do it. So I can either delegate the task or I do it myself and suck it up.
Mhm.
But what I really want to do is I want to take the things that were fun and didn't make me money and see which of those tasks I can move into the other category. So now I'm fueling my passions and building my business at the same time. And when I'm doing that, I get into this zone where I'm building momentum and my energy is going up, and the stress that I'm feeling is it's the alchemizing stress. It's the energizing stress. And if I can just give you one more strategy, there is a great program. I don't even know if it's out there anymore, but I took it probably 15, 20 years ago, called Simpleology by Mark Joyner. And I am not getting anything for endorsing him today, but it was a terrific program, helped me so much in the early days of running my business. And one of the things that he encourages people to do is to check in at the end of every day. What emotions did I feel most dominantly today? Which of these would I like to feel tomorrow? Which of these would I not like to feel tomorrow? What strategies can I take so that I feel more of the good and the positive emotions tomorrow and fewer of the negative or distressing emotions? And that level of mindfulness makes us very intentional about how we're going to go through our day, how we're going to address problems as they arise, and what types of interactions or situations we want to avoid or eliminate from our daily activities because they're contributing to those consuming stress emotions.
All great advice. And Julie, as the Salient Strategist, I appreciate all the strategies that you shared. I think they were great. I definitely took notes. I like the fun and money. I hadn't heard that. I'm going to look into that. But definitely, if I'm having fun and making money, it sounds like a great place to be.
Yes.
And thank you so much for being here with me today on Time to Press Pause and for sharing your stories and your strategies.
It has been my absolute pleasure. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Time to Press Pause. To learn more about Julie, go to angersolution.com. To learn more about me, go to thesalientstrategist.com. And be sure to join us again wherever you listen to your podcasts.